So let us look at these essays. As we always say, if you have to get into top 100 ranks, three things you have to do really well. The first one is in essays, you have to score at least 140 to 150 marks, depending on how UPSC gives you marks. In ethics, you have to score around 120 marks, and optional, you have to score at least 300 marks. This is the only way in which you can score, you can get into top 3 services. And of course, interview, after all these things, you have to score at least 180 marks. This is the only way where you can score good marks. And the best part of all this is that for these things you don't have to study much, essay or ethics. Where you are studying really very well, whether it is polity, governance or economy or internal security or disaster management or science and technology, you will not get marks. Where you don't have to study much, you will get very good marks. Whether it is ethics or essay, you don't have to study much. It depends on how you write your answers. Essay, obviously, you don't need to prepare anything separately for essays. But again, last year what UPSC has done is that last year UPSC has changed the pattern of essays. Till before last year, essays used to be nothing but an extension of GS papers. Basically, they were all taking the most important issues, and they were from GS point of view, and they were giving it as essays. So essays, they used to ask mostly from political, economic and administrative and social issues a little bit, and then geographical, environmental issues they used to ask. Still they are focusing on geographical, environmental, social issues, but last year onwards they started focusing more on ethics. If you look at last year's section A, almost all the 4 essays have nothing to do with any of other things except ethics. That is the reason why what happened last year, the essay marks had come down drastically. Before last year, that is in 2017, people scored 170 marks, 175 marks also in essays. Ridiculous. Why? Because you could predict the essays and you know how to write those essays also. But last year, when they have asked different types of essays, first of all, they could not understand the meaning of the essays also which they have asked. They asked something and they have written completely something different. That is the reason why average score had come down to around 120 marks last year, and top score was around above 140, 145 marks, where there are very few people who scored above 150 marks. So then, as I said, that whatever may be the marking in essays, you should be there in the top 100 bracket in terms of essay marks. That is, you should be there around 150 marks like last year, or 160, 170 marks also previous year. Then how to write, how to get those kind of marks in essays, that is what we will have to look at. As I said, if the essays are about political or economic or environmental or geographical or other issues, there is no problem for you, because you know them, you have studied them, there is some kind of template for you to write the essay. But the problem comes up when the essay topics are so subjective that you don't know what to write and how to write. That is where it becomes difficult for you. That is the reason why, let us, after the 4 essays I have given, 2 of them are related to ethical and other aspects, 2 of them are regular essays. Let us look at those things and how to attempt those kind of things, those kind of topics. Decency and tolerance, to be of any value, must be capable of withstanding the severest strain. Obviously, as we can see here, nowadays the most important issue in our country is increasing intolerance. What we are witnessing is increasing intolerance. You can see everyone is writing letters. First 49 people have written letters, as against this 61 people have written letters. Everyone is writing love letters to others. What they think about all these things. Obviously, this topic you can expect this year in your essay, in the same or a different manner. This is basically the statement which I have taken from Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi quotations are very, very important. Every year again UPSC takes Gandhi quotations, they give them as essay topics or questions in your ethics paper also. This is the quotation given by Gandhi. What did he say? Decency and tolerance, to be of any value, must be capable of withstanding the severest strain. So what do we understood by this statement first of all, and how to explain this statement, which should be the crux of your essay. And then when you are explaining these kind of statements, as I said, there is no template as such, there is no structure as such for writing this kind of essays. So what you have to do, you have to depend more on live examples to explain these kind of statements. You have to focus on more on live examples. As we always say, the most important thing about essay is that how to get as I said, those kind of 150 marks in essay. What can we do to get those 150 marks in essay? The only thing that you must remember is that you have to make your essay interesting in nature. I have to read say 1200 words. If you are writing around 150 pages per 150 words per page, I will be reading almost around 10 pages. To read 10 pages it becomes difficult. I must have a lot of patience. I will become intolerant. Okay, how can I read so much? I can read only when what you are writing is interesting in nature. Every page, every paragraph, I should find it interesting. It should be thought provoking. It should make me think. It should make me analyze. It should make me feel with what you are writing. You can write good marks in essays when you make your essays emotional. In GS you have to write rational answers. In essays you have to write emotional answers. So if I have to write about this one, first of all, what is the meaning of this term? Decency and tolerance, to be of any value, must be capable of withstanding severest strain. What do we mean by that? What have you understood by this? How many of you have written this one? Okay. What is the meaning of this statement? When you talk about tolerance, when you talk about decency, if these words to be of any value in our life, day-to-day life, they must be willing to withstand the severest strain. What do you mean by that? What is the meaning of the statement? It means that every day they are put to test in our day-to-day life. If you have to be tolerant, if you have to develop tolerance, every day in our day-to-day life we keep on facing so many real life situations wherein it becomes easier for us to become intolerant. We face in our day-to-day life every day, we face so many situations where we become intolerant, where we become indecent. And you have to prevent this intolerance and indecence. That requires a huge amount of mental strength. It requires huge amount of mental strength, psychological abilities. And that is what the meaning of this statement. That is the reason why we say that this tolerance, decency, they are our strengths but not our weaknesses. They are not they are our strengths. If I am patient, if I am peaceful, if I believe in non-violence, if I believe in tolerance, it means that it is my strength, it is not my weakness. Why? Because as I said, every day we find so many situations in our day-to-day life where it becomes easier for us to become intolerant, aggressive, and then violent, and also become too narrow-minded in our approach because of the kind of society we are living in. So once you understand what is the meaning of this and what is the meaning of this statement, then you can start writing about essay. So as I said that we have to make it interesting. How to make it this one interesting? How can make it this interesting? So the introduction, you can start your introduction with some kind of very recent examples wherein intolerance and indecency has become a part and parcel of our life. What are the examples can you give? Wherein it has become, a part and parcel of our life. Indecency, intolerance. What are the examples can we give? This recent slogans regarding Sri Ram. Everyone is asked to raise the slogans of Sri Ram, irrespective of their faith, irrespective of their religion. Why? Because we have become intolerant to diversity. We have become intolerant towards other religions, other beliefs, other faiths. That is the reason why those who do not, recite this word Sri Ram, we are killing them. Recently in Jharkhand, a Muslim youth was killed for, not repeating the word Sri Ram. And same is the case with in Bengal, where Sri Ram had become a political slogan. And not only that, in almost all this entire what we call the Hindi belt, it has become some kind of an aggressive what you call Hinduism, aggressive sign of Hinduism. Ironically, Hinduism always talks about tolerance towards other faiths. Next, what are the other examples you can give? The next example we can give is this nationalism. In the name of patriotism, what we are doing? We are promoting aggressive nationalism in the name of patriotism. What we are doing is we are promoting aggressive nationalism. This aggressive nationalism has made our societies intolerant. Those who do not sing Vande Mataram, we are punishing them, not realizing the fact that they also have the freedom of choice. Not realizing the fact that they also have freedom of choice. We will determine who is a nationalist and who is not on the basis of the criteria fixed by us. This is another thing. Next, what are the other signs of intolerance what we see? We are witnessing intolerance in the form of this regionalism also. Regionalism also. In the form of the debate between Hindi and non-Hindi speaking states. In non-Hindi speaking states, especially Tamil Nadu, leaders like Vaiko and Karnataka, what they are saying is that use of Hindi in those states means imposition of Hindi on their culture. Again, it is resulting in what is called linguistic conflicts. You can see for Vaiko, that DMK leader, who has become member of parliament, he said that the use of Hindi in our parliament has lowered the dignity of the debates of our parliament. Earlier prime ministers like Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Vajpayee and others, they used to speak in English. That is the reason why they were great orators. Whereas our prime minister speaks only in Hindi. That is the reason why he is not. So this kind of intolerance, linguistic identities, this is also resulting in intolerance. Next, intolerance where we find in terms of food habits, in terms of food habits of the people, in terms of the food habits of the people. We are witnessing again intolerance in terms of the food habits of the people. For example, if any person is eating, anything which is not considered civilized by the society, we are killing that person. Whether it is eating beef or anything like that. That also we are witnessing intolerance. Intolerance. And in the name of this cows, smuggling of cows, so many people are killed also. In Rajasthan, they were beaten severely because they were indulging in cow trade, buffalo trade. In terms of food also, we are witnessing intolerance. Next, where do we see intolerance? We are witnessing intolerance in the name of caste also, caste conflicts. In our society, we are witnessing intolerance in the form of caste conflicts also. Why? Because lower caste in our society are trying to make themselves more assertive, which is not liked by forward caste, resulting in caste conflicts, resulting in conflicts between the various castes. This is also another sign of intolerance in our societies. So, once I give this introduction in the form of all these live examples, then the next paragraph what I will do is that I will start asking the question, why do our societies have become so intolerant? I will raise a rhetorical question. Why did our societies become so intolerant? What is the reason why? Why did our societies become so intolerant? Why are we not able to respect diversity, respect traditions, customs of other people? Then I will start posing all these kind of questions. Why our societies have become intolerant? Why our societies are not able to respect other traditions, customs? Why we don't have respect for diversity? Why we are not able to realize the fact that the way I have my own faith or belief, others should also be given the opportunity to have his own faith or belief. What is the reason why it is happening? So for my essay I prepared the template by raising these critical questions. Then I will come to the explanation part of our essay, because I made the examiner think about what I have written here in terms of by raising important questions. Now, as part of my essay, examiner will be looking at whether I am able to provide effective answers to the questions that I have raised or not. If I can come out with effective solutions, I will score at least 150, 160 marks in essay very easily, because I have increased the curiosity of the examiner here regarding the issue that I have raised here. Next, after raising the questions, immediately I will not go into the essay again. I will go to the historical aspects here. I will start historically. Historically, India has been a country which is known for its tolerance and openness. Historically, India has been a country which is known for its tolerance and openness. It is known for its tolerance and openness. That is what I will say. Why? Because of our civilization. Because of our civilization. What you call Vedic civilization or anything else. In fact, the entire our civilization, Vedic civilization, it is said that it had come from the Aryans, and Aryans are the people who have migrated from Europe. So historically, India has been a country which opened people from different races, different regions, and different different backgrounds. We are the country which opened our borders all the time. Unlike other civilizations, other civilizations like the Roman civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, and other civilizations, Greek civilization. Why they have collapsed? Because they were not open societies, inclusive open societies they were not. Whereas in India, why our civilization has survived for 5,000 years, more than 5,000 years? Because of its strength, that is tolerance. That is what I will write. I will write from the historical dimension. Why it has survived? India has been a place, to majority of religions in the world. All the major religions in the world had found their followers in India. Christianity, from Jerusalem, where did it spread first? It had come to India, Kerala, Christianity. And Islam also has spread its wings in India. And so is the case with Buddhism, Jainism, and the Jewish religion. All these religions found their followers in India. And the rulers from time to time, even though they followed a particular faith, they made sure that they are not discriminating against people from other faiths, which basically is the soul of what is our country, soul of our civilization. So after writing these things, the next question that I will be raising is, if this is the case, historically we are known for tolerance, we are known for decency, what is the reason why now our societies have become so intolerant? Historically, as I said, that for almost 5,000 years, we are known for this kind of tolerance and decency. Now, why they have become, so intolerant, so indecent? Why? Because, as the statement says here, we are not able to withstand the severest pain that we are witnessing in our societies. Why we have become intolerant? As the statement says, Mahatma Gandhi's statement says that we are not able to withstand the severest pain that we are witnessing in our societies. What kind of pain that we are talking about here? What kind of pain? As I said, the strength of any person, the character of any person can be seen only when he faces a failure, not when he is successful. That is what we write. If you are successful, because these are all essays which are related to ethics and other things. You have to make it interesting, as I keep on saying. Success, what does success do to you? Success introduces you to the rest of the world. The moment you become successful, rest of the world will come to know you, about you. On the other hand, failure is more important than success. Why failure is more important than success? Because when you are a failure, you will come to know about rest of the world. Failure introduces introduce rest of the world to you. You will come to know what kind of people we have in our societies. This is the same for societies also. What we are saying for individuals is also the same for societies. If the societies are successful, there will not be any problems. On the other hand, when the societies are not successful, when they are facing strain, when they are facing challenges, that is when all these problems will come up. All these problems will come up. And that is what we say here. The problem here is that India is a country which is facing challenges on many fronts. We have a society wherein people are facing day-to-day problems. Since they do not know how to overcome those problems, they are becoming intolerant and indecent. They do not have that kind of physical strength and mental stamina to overcome the day-to-day problems. That is resulting in indecency and intolerance. What do we mean by that? For example, why are we witnessing this kind of what is called Hindu revivalism in our societies? In the name of these slogans, Jai Shri Ram, in the name of demanding a temple for Lord Ram, in the name of in the Hindu society, in the name of aggressive conversions also. Hinduism nowadays talking about reconversions, conversions and reconversions. Tribals are converted into Christianity by Muslim missionaries, and RSS will go there and convert them again back to Hinduism. What is the reason why these things are happening? Why did our society become so intolerant? Hinduism or Hindu society, which is known for its tolerance, which is known for its openness, which is known for its diversity, which is known for its inclusiveness, why it has become intolerant now? Why it has become intolerant now? Why it has become intolerant now? Because, as we have said, we are not able to cope up with the day-to-day problems. What are the day-to-day problems that we are talking about here? What are the day-to-day problems we are talking about here? The day-to-day problems in terms of economic growth, in terms of backwardness, in terms of jobs, employment, in terms of basic minimum facilities which are needed for our survival. These are the things which have become, which should have been given to us for a very long time back, have not been provided to us by the governments. That is the reason why people have become insecure. They have become insecure. Now this is where sociology will come into picture. Sociology. You are studying about the dynamics of the society. What is the reason why we are becoming aggressive, intolerant? What is the reason why we are not able to develop patience? For the simple reason that there is so much of insecurity with our lives, day-to-day life. Jobs are not available. Economic growth is not what it should be, and there is so much of backwardness and widening inequalities, because of which people believe that unless they have a particular identity, they would not be able to fulfill their goals. They would not be able to realize their dreams. So from economy, we are moving towards what is called polity. From society, we went to economy. From economy, we are moving towards a polity. This is where identity politics started playing a very, very significant role in the behavior of our people. Identity politics, they started playing a very important role. Why? Because democracy is all about numbers. When we talk about democracy, it is all about numbers. It is all about majority. So what will the government should do most of the time? The government will always be forced to bow to the demands of the majority. It is all about the numbers. So how to ensure that people come together? How to ensure that people are bound together? This can be done with the help of what is called this identity politics. This identity politics can be in the name of religion. It can be in the name of caste. What Hardik Patel has done in the name of caste. And this can be in the name of nationalism, aggressive nationalism. What BJP has done. Aggressive nationalism. And it can be in the name of language. What people in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have done. In the name of language. So what the political parties and political leaders are doing here is that they are trying to exploit the situation here, because it becomes difficult for them to win elections in the name of governance. It becomes difficult for them to provide economic growth, jobs and basic income and everything else. What is easier for them? It becomes easier for them to create these divisions in our country in the name of religion, caste. That is the reason why, if you look at it in 2014 elections, our Prime Minister has promised, BJP has promised 2 crore jobs per year. Every year, that is what they promised. By 2019, when they realized that they cannot provide the jobs, what did they do? They had come out with economically backward classes reservations, EBC reservations. Identity politics. That is where, unfortunately, the competitive politics in India are the sole reason, which is responsible for increasing intolerance in our societies. That is the reason why, that is where, we talk about the failure of our, constitution. Our constitution talks about secularism, but the problem is that political parties, they only practice either majority communalism or minority communalism in the name of secularism. The political parties, they practice either majority communalism or minority communalism in the name of secularism, which results more in intolerance and indecency, because they don't have the patience, they don't have the sincerity of purpose to work for the people, to uplift the people and to help the people. And in this process there are so many vested interests which help the political parties in the form of these religious organizations, both majority and minority. These vested interests add more fuel to the fire. People are already very insecure about their future. And they said that, these religious organizations and political parties, they tell the people that unless you have this kind of identity, it is not possible for you to grow. The identity can be in the form of religion, it can be in the form of caste, it can be in the form of, region, or it can be in the form of language. Unless you have this kind of identity, it is not possible for you to become part of the process of growth and development. And that is the reason why, suddenly you can see so many caste-based organizations becoming very popular. Hardik Patel, he was very young, at the age of 21, he was the most popular leader in Gujarat. You can mention all these things. In your essays, the good thing is that you can always talk about these things. How did he become such a popular leader? Was he doing anything what is called nation building? No, he was only creating more intolerance in our societies, with his conservative, inward-looking approach. And that is why, because they believe that they can win elections by creating these vote banks. They can win elections by creating vote banks. It is what is called a win-win situation for everyone. It will help the political parties to win elections. It will also help the people to have a false security identity for them. And nobody has the kind of patience, nobody has the kind of inner strength to fight out the problems, the basic fundamental issues facing the country. For example, if India has been growing at say 9% per annum or 10% per annum, you would not find young people in our country wasting their precious time in these kind of identity movements. You do not find them. Why they are doing all these things? Why? Because as we have said that they don't have any jobs. And that is where our society. Added to that, you have to bring in media also here. Another important institution here is media. Media is also in the name of reporting the live stories, because we have what is called 24-hour media, electronic media as well as social media. How can they survive? They can survive only when they come out with breaking news. These are the statements which you have to write in your answers. They can survive only when they come out with breaking news all the time. 24 hours they have to come out with breaking news. If there is no news to break, they have to break news itself. That is what they have to do. That is when they come out with false narrative. They create fear among the people. They create fear among the people. For example, somewhere in a very remote village, a small say whether it is a temple or a mosque is demolished. They will create it as if it is the most important national issue that is confronting the country. They will keep on reporting the incident. They will keep on showing the incident so that the emotions will run very high. Passions will become much stronger, and it will result in more incidents like that. For example, you go back to 30-40 years back. If something happens in a particular very remote village, by the time rest of the country will come to know about it, it will take at least minimum 1 month, because there were no communication facilities at that point of time. Right now, everything is live with the spread of what is called electronic media and social media. Electronic media and social media. And what these electronic media and social media are doing, they are making our societies more intolerant. Why? Because unless our societies become more intolerant, they would not retain their relevance. That is where the problem. They have their own selfish interest. Unless they come out with reporting about all these so-called sensational events, they would not be getting what is called TRPs. They would not be able to get the TRPs. They would not be able to get the TRPs. So, for all these reasons, as I said, that is the reason why, what is happening is that everything a person does is closely monitored by the society. We are keeping a 24-hour vigil on everything a person does. And in the name of nationalism, patriotism, we are trying to dictate everything to the people. For example, if you don't stand up when Vande Mataram is played in cinema halls, then other people will come and start beating you. Why? Because you have to show to the rest of the world that you are an aggressive nationalist, not patriotism. Patriotism is positive, nationalism is negative. You have to show to the world. And similarly, how can you show to the rest of the world that you are a very devout Hindu? How can you show to the rest of the world that you are a Hindu who strongly believes in this Hindu ideology and religion and everything? Only when you start beating people from other religion for what they are doing. Right? This exhibitionism has become the major problem. You have to exhibit, you have to tell the rest of the world that what kind of a person you are. How can you tell the rest of the world what kind of person you are? Either through your actions or through your words. That is the reason why in social media you keep on writing everything. Or similarly, you will become very aggressive. If a person is not chanting Shri Ram, you will go and start beating the person. And not only that, you will ask your friend to upload take the video, and you will upload on social media to tell the rest of the world that you have become a very neo-Hindu. What do you call it as? Neo-Hindus. Neo. Neo means new. That is what we say. Normally converted people are more aggressive than original ones. Okay, because they have to show their beliefs all the time. Neo-Hindu. This is the problem with our societies. Why? Because it is believed by the people that it is the people from majority sections of society, the Hindus, that because of Christians or Islam or Muslims or other religions, because they are not able to get their opportunities. What Hitler had done to Germany in 1920s and 1930s, we are doing the same thing now in the name of aggressive nationalism. What did Hitler do? He created a false consciousness among the German population that Aryan race is the most superior race in the world. Aryan race is the most superior race in the world, and they have the divine right to rule the entire world. This is what Hitler created among the Germans in the world. And he said that it is perfectly ethical, it is perfectly moral for Aryans to decimate other races to show their superiority, especially the Jewish population. And that is the reason why the entire Holocaust had taken place. In India also, unfortunately, Hinduism is also becoming what is called an aggressive religion. And obviously there will be reaction from other minority religions, which is resulting in what we call intolerance. In the same manner, we talk about the upper caste and the lower caste. Lower caste, they have become empowered thanks to the reservation policy that was implemented for the last 70 years. Obviously, they are asserting their independence, which is not liked by people from upper caste, which is resulting in caste conflicts. Like in Uttar Pradesh, you can see recently 10 people were killed over a land dispute. It was not only a land dispute, it was also a caste conflict. Why? Because, as I said, increasing intolerance. Why? Because there are no opportunities for people. There are no economic opportunities for people. At the end of the day, what you say that it is the economy that is responsible for all these things. There are no opportunities, uneven development, increasing inequalities. So while after writing about all these things, the next question that you should be asking is, what is the solution? What could be the solution? What could be the solution? So what do we think is the solution? The solution lies again going back to your roots. The solution lies in going back to our roots. What are our roots? What is the identity of Indian society? The major identity of Indian society is, it is open, it is participative, it is inclusive, and it respects diversity. You have to go back to that. You have to go back to those kind of societies. So what can be done? It should start from the beginning itself. In the education curriculum itself, from the childhood, in the education curriculum itself, we must teach our children, the future generations, the value of tolerance and diversity. In the academic curriculum, we must teach children the value of diversity and tolerance. We must explain to them. And how can we teach them? You have to make our education more value based. Make it more value based. Right now, in the name of scientific temper, we have completely ignored values. In the name of rationality and scientific temper, values have been completely ignored as part of our academic curriculum. We don't have any kind of knowledge about other religious beliefs, traditions, customs and cultures. This ignorance is resulting in intolerance. If a person sitting next to us is doing something different from what we do, it makes us intolerant because of our ignorance about other traditions, customs and languages. If he speaks a language which is different from what we speak, then it will be sowing the seeds of suspicion among us, thinking that he might be trying to do some kind of harm to us. And or if he prays in a different manner, or if he eats something different, we become intolerant. The solution is, give the knowledge. Solution is, give the knowledge of all religions to every child, so that once they become young, they would become more tolerant. That is what is required. That is what is required. Next thing is that we have to, at the end of the day, we have to protect the freedom of people. At the end of the day, it is all about protecting the freedom. This is what the statement, one of the important philosophers, he said that, what is the famous statement he made? He said that, I have the right to say whatever I want. In the same manner, you have the right to differ from what I say. You have the complete right to reject my argument. But at the same time, till the end of my life, I will make sure that you have the right to dissent. That is what the essence of any civilized society. You must accept and allow dissent in societies. Not everyone will be thinking like me. Not everyone should be thinking like me. Unless there is diversity, there cannot be any scope for growth. I may not agree with you what you are saying. I will not agree with you what you are saying. But till the end of my life, I will ensure that you have the right to say whatever you want. That kind of tolerance should be developed. You must, that is what, you must develop that kind of psychological strength to withstand severest pain. That is where. Right now in our society, we want more, we are going for what is called homogenization of societies. We are talking about same language. We are talking about same religion. We are talking about same culture, which is not possible for a diversified country like India. And that is the reason why we must, as part of our academic curriculum, make sure that children develop this, intolerance. As far as young people are concerned, what we should do, anyone who indulges in violence in terms of, in the name of intolerance, that person should be severely punished. Unfortunately, for example, recently if you have seen in newspapers, all these things you have to quote in your essays. 2013 Muzaffarnagar riots in Uttar Pradesh, so many minority people were killed, so many women were raped. Till now, not even a single person was convicted. All of them were let off by the court. Why? Because there was no proof. All the witnesses had turned hostile. The government also has decided not to appeal again also. You must ensure rule of law. Very, very important. Strict implementation of rule of law. That is very, very important, so that you will be able to develop tolerance. Those who we should be intolerant towards those people who are intolerant. You have to be. You cannot indulge in physical violence in the name of religion or caste or region or language. You have every right to express your opinion, but you cannot dictate. You cannot cause harm to people. We must strictly implement rule of law. Then what else that can be done, to make our societies more tolerant? That is what we say. We should move towards what is called inclusive growth and equitable societies. We must ensure that every section of society gets equal opportunity to participate in growth and development. The focus should be more on, equitable growth, inclusive and equitable growth. As I said that, why there is so much of a demand for reservations? Why? Because there are no jobs in the private sector. If the private sector is able to provide jobs, lakhs of jobs, will the people be looking for government jobs? Obviously not. There are no jobs in the private sector. Why? Because as the other essay that we talked about, jobless growth. That is the reason why people believe that they can have safe and secure life only when they get government job. It is not possible for them to get the government job in open competition because of increasing competition. So what they are doing, what they believe is that they can get government jobs only through reservations. How can they get reservations? Only when they participate in agitations. That is how intolerance will be there in the societies. And for that, the government has to, what we said, must ensure equitable and inclusive growth. And then you must punish the media also, because media cannot be irresponsible. In the name of the freedom of speech and expression, media cannot have absolute freedom. You must also punish media. So this is what we say, you have to write for this essay. As I said, I won't be surprised at all if this topic is not asked for essay this year. and I would be highly surprised if it is not asked. 125 marks, you can be dead sure that this kind of topic will be there in our essays this year. Next, yeah.
There were two words, decency and tolerance.
Huh?
So while writing,
Yeah, decency. Yeah, you can talk about decency. If you want to talk about decency, why we have become indecent societies? Why? Because both of them are interrelated. We have become intolerant, because of which we are indulging in indecent behavior. You are abusing other people, you are beating them, because you have become intolerant. That is what. Both of them are interrelated. Yeah. Yeah, you can give. Yes. Who said? Absolutely no harm. That is what we started our essay with also. All the things. Otherwise, if you try to write like in general studies, what is the difference between GS answers and essays? In essays, you have the whole, what you call world will be at your disposal. You can write anything and everything. Whereas in GS, you have to write your answers in a particular, what is called bounded rationality. In essays, you can write anything. Only thing is that your thoughts, your ideas should be convincing. And when I name all these facts, nobody can deny these facts. When I say that in Jharkhand, a Muslim youth was killed because he did not chant Lord Sri Ram, it is a fact. When I say that in Uttar Pradesh, a Muslim man was killed because on the basis of the suspicion that he had stored beef in his house, it is a fact. When I say that in Muzaffarnagar, not even a single culprit was punished, again it is a fact. You have to talk about these things. Yes. Obviously, that is the reason why we mentioned about Germany also. At the end of the day, essay is all about India. I know you like Pakistan very much, but UPSC, very difficult. You have to write about what happens in India. In Pakistan, there is no scope for intolerance. Why? Because the country itself is intolerant. Right. Next, regular elections are necessary but not sufficient to ensure accountability in a democracy. So this is again a political one, so which should not be a difficult one for you, because if you have a basic understanding of your political governance, then you can write good answers for these kind of essays. Again, how do you start your essay? For that, before you have to understand the essay, what is it? Regular elections are necessary but not sufficient to ensure accountability in a democracy. What do you mean by that? Democracy is all about accountability. Initially, we thought that this accountability can be ensured through regular election process. But what is happening is that all over the world, because of the coming up of what is called charismatic leadership, the rulers are getting absolute majorities on the floor of the house, and they are becoming what is called dictators. Once elections are held, for the next 4 years or for the next 5 years, what you are witnessing is what is called executive dictatorship, or what we call electoral dictatorship. Once they are elected, what we are witnessing is electoral dictatorship. So that is the reason why what we are saying is that these elections are necessary but not at all sufficient to ensure accountability in a democracy. When you talk about democracy, we talk about some important features. When you talk about democracy, we talk about the sovereignty of the citizens. People are sovereign. Then when we talk about democracy, accountability of rulers towards the ruled. Accountability of the rulers towards the ruled. When we talk about democracy, participation of citizens. Participation of citizens in governance. And we believed that all of them can be realized with the help of what is called election process, electoral process. We believe that all of them can be realized with the help of what is called electoral process. And we believe that the sovereignty, people can exercise their sovereignty. How do they exercise their sovereignty? By voting in elections. And the basic assumption here is that people can behave in a rational manner. They can exercise their choices in a rational manner. They can see who are the candidates who are contesting. They can evaluate the good and bad of the candidates, and they can make the right kind of choices. And then, the rulers would be accountable to the people for the next 5 years. That is what they say. And then finally, people are participating in democratic process through elections. People are participating in democratic process through elections. And that is the reason why it was believed that this kind of representative democracy is more than enough to ensure accountability of the executive. And that is the reason why neither our constitution nor for that matter any of the constitutions in the world really went into this aspect of accountability, continuous accountability. Here the accountability is there only once in 4 years or 5 years. It is the case of United States of America. After Donald Trump became president, for 4 years nothing could be done. Why? Because in America, the impeachment process of the president is a very, very complicated and difficult affair. They wanted to impeach Donald Trump, but they could not do so. People, out of emotions, they might vote for a particular candidate, and for the next 4 years they have to suffer. For the next 5 years, they have to suffer. Why? Because it is very difficult to assume that people always make rational choices, and once they make any irrational choice, they are forced to suffer for the next 5 years. This is happening all around the world. So the question that we are asking is, how can we ensure continuous accountability? Elections definitely are necessary, but not at all sufficient. They are necessary, but not at all sufficient. How can we ensure continuous accountability? That is what the question that we are asking. What can be done to ensure continuous accountability? As I said that, take the case of India. If a political party has majority in both the houses of parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, then the Prime Minister can become a dictator. This is what we study. We say that Prime Minister of India has more powers than the President of America. We say that American President is the most powerful President in the world, most powerful executive in the world. No. It is the Prime Minister of India who has more powers than President of America. In terms of the powers they exercise, not in terms of the influence they have. America is much more influential and powerful country compared to India because of its economic might and military strength and everything else. I am talking about the executive here. Why? Because if the Prime Minister has majority in both the houses of the parliament, then what happens? He can get any legislation passed. And if the Prime Minister has 2/3 majority, then he can become a dictator simply. Why? Because with the 2/3 majority, you can amend any part of the constitution. Article 368. You can amend any part of the constitution. You can make any law, rules and regulations. And the role of judiciary is only what you call post-mortem in nature. Judiciary will step in only once the laws are passed. Before that, they don't step in. It is only post-mortem in nature. And Parliament can reduce the power of judiciary also. If the Prime Minister becomes a charismatic leader becomes a Prime Minister like that of Indira Gandhi, then she could control even the judiciary also. So obviously, in an electoral process, please remember, all over the world, all the dictators had come to power through electoral process only. Hitler, he had come to power through electoral process. Regular elections were held in Germany, and then Hitler had become the leader. Then he started subverting the constitution and the systems. Indira Gandhi, she had come to power again through electoral process. In 1971, when elections were held, she was the most popular leader in the country. She had won a landslide mandate with her Garibi Hatao slogan. But within 4 years, she imposed emergency in 1975. She became a dictator. She subverted every other institution, legislature, executive, judiciary, civil services, police, everything else. So obviously, there must be something much more that is required to make democracy more accountable than regular elections. Again, this is a topic which can be relevant. Why? Because as you can see here, only recently, yesterday, day before yesterday, BJP could manage majority in Rajya Sabha also. That is the reason why, using their brute majority, they are getting all the bills passed without any discussion also. The president belongs to BJP, vice president BJP, prime minister BJP, speaker BJP, right? Country, yes, that is what we say. That is the reason why the critical amendments to RTI, which makes RTI completely ineffective, are passed. Even the opposition have expressed serious doubts both in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. In a parliamentary democracy, what really matters is the numbers. Opposition can discuss, debate, but beyond that, they cannot influence the process. They cannot even, they could not get even the bill to be sent to select committee also. So obviously, what is required is continuous accountability. Because if you have to ensure sovereignty of the citizens, if you have to ensure sovereignty of the citizens, if you have to ensure effective functioning of democracy, you must make the executive accountable to the people. What can be done? What do you think this can be done? How to ensure accountability? What do you think it can be done? Starting with the election process, electoral process itself. Take the case of political parties coming out with their manifestos. They come out with their manifestos at the time of elections. In the manifestos, they come out with so many promises. They come out with so many promises which they also know that can never be fulfilled. Right? They come out with manifestos, and in those manifestos, they come out with so many promises which they believe that they cannot be fulfilled. That is where accountability starts. For example, as I said that in 2014 elections, BJP made so many promises. They said that they will provide 2 crore jobs every year. They said that they will deposit 15 lakh rupees into the accounts of everyone by catching the black money. They said that they will double farmers' income in 5 years. They made so many promises, knowing fully well that it is almost impossible to fulfill those promises. Then what is the solution? Recently also, Congress party had come out with a NeoStencil scheme, wherein they said that every person will be given 72,000 rupees per annum, so that everyone in the country can come and prepare for UPSC. Right? Let's say happily. So this kind of unworkable promises, what can we do? What we have to do is that whenever political parties come out with the manifestos, these manifestos should be made legal. Legality. That means whatever the promises that they have made, if they are not fulfilled, the political parties should be made legally accountable. They should be made legally accountable, right? They should be made legally accountable. At the end of the 5 years, you said that you will provide 2 crore jobs every year. 5 into 2, 10 crore jobs. Where are the 10 crore jobs? If you are not, then you will become jobless. That is what is accountability. You must be able to send the politicians to jail for making these kind of ridiculous promises. Why? Because people, they are not knowledgeable, they are not educated, they can easily swayed by these kind of promises. That is the reason why whenever political parties come make this kind of process, they must be made responsible, they must be made accountable. If that is done, nobody will be making this kind of ridiculous promises. And that is where you can ensure accountability. Next, what else can be done to ensure accountability in our democracy? What can be done to ensure accountability? The most important thing here is that, unfortunately, in India, whether you look at legislature, executive or judiciary, there is no direct accountability of either of these organs of the state to the citizens. Although they derive their power from the constitution, but they are not directly accountable to anyone else. In case of legislature, what can we do? Everyone in our country will get their salaries only when they work, not when they remain absent. So we have to define the privileges of our members of parliament and MLAs to make them accountable. You have to define their privileges. When the parliament is in session, every day if you happen to see the Indian Express newspaper, every day they say that they come out with who is present and who is not on the floor of the house. We have elected them to attend the house, to participate in the discussions, to make laws. If you look at the last 1 week, Prime Minister was never present in the house. Sonia Gandhi was not present. Rahul Gandhi is in America. He is attending American Congress. Okay. So what nonsense is this? Our members of parliament or state legislators are the only ones who gets paid for not working. Make them accountable. Make them accountable. If they don't attend the parliament, they will not be paid any salaries. It is as simple as that one. You hit them where it hurts them the most. That is where money. Their salaries will not be paid if they don't attend the parliament. It is as simple as that one. And next thing is that when the parliament is not in session, they must be in their constituencies all the time. All of them, whether it is MPs or MLAs, they must be in their constituencies. Why? Because they are public servants. They are in public service. They must spend their time only in the service of the people. Nobody has asked them to join politics and become part of a public service. You should not have any personal life of your own. You must spend the rest of your life only in the public life, in the service of the people. Then only come into politics, otherwise get lost. You must attend, they must spend their time in their constituencies and they must regularly meet people and solve their problems. That is what is accountability. They must regularly meet, right from the panchayat member to the Prime Minister, everyone. They must be in their constituencies. They must meet people and solve their problems. Even if one person complains, then you take away their privileges. After that, nobody will be there in politics. If you implement this kind of reforms, nobody will be there in politics. That is what is continuous accountability. Right now, they are enjoying all the power without any accountability. They are enjoying all the power without any accountability. Next, what else can be done to make them accountable? What else do you think can be done to make them accountable, to ensure continuous accountability? Next thing is that any bill that is introduced on the floor of the house by the government must be discussed by the MPs with their constituency members before deciding to vote in a particular manner on the floor of the house. Any bill that is introduced by the government, must be discussed by the members on the floor, by the members of parliament or state legislature with their, with their constituency population. Take their opinion, take the majority opinion, and they should vote accordingly, not according to what their political party says. They should vote accordingly. So that, for that, what you have to do? You have to completely remove this whip system. Whips, political parties keep on issuing whips. The whip can be issued only for two instances. One is during the time of confidence or no confidence motion. Second one is during the time of passing of budget. Rest for all the bills, members should be voting according to the preferences of their people in the constituency. This is another important solution which we can offer. Next, what else can we do to ensure accountability? What else can we do? Next, all development works that are taking place in their constituency, because MP lads, MLA lads, all these things are there. All developmental works should be taking place only in consultation with the stakeholders. They should be taking place only in the consultation with the stakeholders, because this kind of transparency can result in accountability. This kind of transparency can result in accountability. It can result in accountability. And the stakeholders must decide regarding how the monies should be spent. The stakeholders must decide regarding how the monies should be spent. This is what normally we call it as citizen charters also, to ensure continuous accountability. Next, what else can be done to ensure continuous accountability? Next thing is we can have this reform called the recall. If the members of if the people of the constituency are not satisfied with the performance of their MP or MLA, they must be given an opportunity to recall their MP or MLA after 2.5 years. It means elections after 2.5 years, no problem. Because between accountability and stability, what should we give importance to? Accountability. They should be given opportunity to recall their members of parliament or other elected representatives if they are not satisfied with their performance. Next, what else can be done? You must ensure that criminals would not become part of this legislature or executive. If lawbreakers become part of lawmakers, it will only result in rule of law becoming a major casualty. So you have to prevent the criminals. How to prevent the criminals? You must implement electoral reforms. Electoral reforms in the form of banning criminals from contesting elections. At present, what is the relevant legislation? You are banned only for a period of 6 years, along with the punishment which has been given to you as part of the crime that you have committed. What we are saying is that let these criminals be banned for life. Why should again they come back to the public life? They should be banned for life. Anyone who is convicted, whatever may be the period of conviction, they should be banned for life. We don't want these kind of criminals in elections. Next, what else can we do? What else can we do to ensure accountability? Next thing is that we must fix the number of days the legislature has to meet. Like any other job, any other profession, there must be the number of working days. Take the case of judiciary. As economic survey says, our judiciary takes 190 days of holidays, which is ridiculous. The number of minimum number of working days should be fixed. It should be the same for every profession, including judiciary. Now, they cannot be taking so many holidays. They cannot be taking so many holidays. Same is the case with Parliament. You take the case of British Parliament. It meets almost for 220 to 30 days in a year. Still, the members of Parliament will go to their constituencies and they meet the people, everything. Whereas in India, our Parliament meets only for 80-90 days in a year. Rest of the time, we don't see our members of Parliament. And when do we see them again? Only in the next elections. For example, the place where we are sitting now here, it comes under New Delhi constituency. We don't know who is the MP here because we will never see that person in what we call flesh and blood. Why? Because there is no accountability. There is no accountability because they can keep on winning elections, even they don't meet the people, even when they don't talk to the people, even when they don't solve the problems of the people. That is where we must ensure. On the other hand, you take the case of UK, Britain. When the Parliament is not in session, immediately all the members of Parliament go back to their constituencies. They make themselves available. Anyone can go and meet their MP there, which is not the case with India. You need accountability. So like this, you can write so many other points. Whatever that you can study in your polity, you can repeat most of the points here. This kind of essays, as I said, is not difficult to write. Only thing is that you have to make essays more interesting. If you write like general studies answers, it looks a little bit boring, mechanical. So make it interesting by giving, as I said, live examples. For example, sometime back in Punjab, the constituency where the Sidhu has come, Navjot Singh Sidhu, people have put up a posters on their walls asking, where is our MLA? Navjot Singh Sidhu. You have to name and shame those people. And then Sunny Deol, he said that I will have my dupe working there, like in films. This cannot be the case. You must realize the fact that it is a very high moral responsibility. It is not about enjoying the power. That is where we can only make our democracy more accountable. You can give these kind of examples. You give how many times Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi visited their constituencies in the previous Lok Sabha. How many times they have attended the parliament also. Why should we make those people members of parliament? Make them accountable for their performance. Next, for example, when important meetings are going on in the office, can some employees take leave and go on a vacation, like what Rahul Gandhi is doing? He went to America when the parliament session is on. You cannot have that kind of a system. You must make your rulers accountable for their performance. Next, the past is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. This was the question they have asked last year. The past is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. So, how do you attempt these kind of questions? First of all, you should know what is the meaning of these kind of statements. So, what is the meaning? The past is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. What is the meaning? What do you understand? It is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. First of all, what is human consciousness? What is human consciousness? Yes, it is about our cognitive abilities. It is about our cognitive abilities. Our ability to understand, see and analyze what is happening in front of us. It is about ability to see, understand and analyze. These cognitive abilities help us to develop what we call consciousness. It helps us to develop consciousness. And what the question says that this human consciousness and values depend on mostly what happened to us in the past, either to us or to any other person in the past. The past will always influence our values and consciousness. Whatever that happened in the past will always influence our values, our personality, our character, our consciousness and our cognitive abilities. That is what it says. So, continuing with this, then we have to ask the question, in what way our past is a permanent dimension of our consciousness and values. We have to raise this question, in what way our past is a permanent dimension, in what way it influences our consciousness and values. Can you give me any examples wherein our past is the one which influences our values and consciousness? This is what we study in ethics paper. What do we say? The traditions, customs, cultures, beliefs, what we combined together call them as ethics. Combined together we call them as ethics. are the ones which influences our individual values. Basically, it is the relationship between ethics and values. It is the relationship between the ethics and the values. And these traditions, customs, cultures and beliefs, all of them are what we call age old. They have been coming for a very, very long period of time. They have been there for a long period of time. And these traditions, customs, beliefs, cultures, which have been there for a very, very long period of time, are the ones which influences our thought process, cognitive abilities, as well as our values. This past will always be a permanent dimension of our value system. That is what the question says. This past, can we ever forget our past? It is not possible. Like the shadow which will be there with us all the time, as long as we are alive, it will be there with us. Similarly, it is the shadow of the past that will determine our present values. That will determine our present values. The past will always be a permanent influence on our value system. That is what the meaning of this statement. Now, once we have learnt the meaning of this statement, the next thing that we have to ask here is how it will influence our human consciousness and values. In what way it influences our consciousness and values? We have to ask this question. So, what are our values? What do we say about our values? Values are nothing but our personal choices. They are nothing but our personal choices. These values are nothing but our personal choices. That means the choices we make about good and bad. The choices we make regarding good and bad. And how do we make these choices? We make these choices on the basis of our past belief, past faith and past culture and so on and so forth. Whatever that happened in our society in the past is the one which influences our value system. So, that is what the meaning of this statement. How do I start my answer with then? As I said, for these kind of statements, if you have to write good answers, please remember, for these kind of statements, if you write good essays, there is every possibility that you can get far better marks than writing a conventional essay. A conventional essay like the previous one which we discussed, regular actions are necessary. Because a conventional essay, everyone can write good essays. But if you are taking up these kind of essays, that is what you have to decide also. Again you have to decide on the basis of the past only. Your values will be decided on the basis of the past only. You have to decide, whether you want to write these kind of essays or not. What UPSC has done last year is that they did not give any choices for you to take in a decision, because last year in the section B, all the 4 essays are like this only. Either you write it or there is nothing like do or die. It is only do or do. That is where. So coming back here, as I said, for writing all these kind of essays, as I said, always introduction should be very interesting. How can you make this kind of introduction very interesting? For that, as I said, you must understand the statement. We have understood the statement. That means that whatever the choices we make, what are the values that we have at this point of time are influenced by the past traditions, customs and cultures. Our cognitive abilities to decide what is good and what is bad is always influenced by the past traditions and customs and everything else. Can you give me the examples? wherein in the present day society that we are living in, wherein our value system is always decided by past traditions and customs. Again, as I said that this is everything about ethics paper only. If you are good with your ethics paper, you will be writing all these things very well. Can you give me examples for these things? Here, for example, we take the case of caste system. We believe that this caste system is required. We believe that this caste system is necessary. We develop a faith in this caste system because of the past traditions and customs which we are continuing for over a period of 5,000 years. It is the past which is the permanent dimension of our value system. The caste system in India, why it is impossible to get rid of this caste identities? Whenever we meet a new person, the first thing we will be asking is, what is your caste? When you have to get into marriage alliance, the first thing and last thing you will be looking at is only the caste of the person. Yes, and automatically if the person belongs to a lower caste, your value system, the ethics of the society will tell you that you should not give any kind of respect, because that is what you have been taught for thousands of years. It is the past, and we take all these things for granted, the discrimination on the basis of caste. It has become part of our value system, and we don't question it also. We never question it. We have adopted constitution. 70 years of constitution could not change 5,000 years of our beliefs. Our value system, everyone knows about constitution. All of us know that under the articles of the constitution, discriminating people on the basis of their religion, caste, region or everything else is illegal, and you can be punished for it also. But we do so. Why? Because it is the past that is influencing our consciousness and value system. I will give this example, and it is considered perfectly normal to discriminate people also on the basis of caste. We think that it is a good value also. Next, what are the other examples can we give here, wherein the past are still influencing our value system? Patriarchal societies. Male dominated societies. It is considered quite natural to denigrate women, to treat women as secondary grade citizens in our society. It is quite natural. Why? Because it has been coming for the past 5,000 years again. It is been there for 5,000 years. We are discriminating people. It has been there for almost 5,000 years, and we consider it as quite a normal thing. We don't even feel that it is bad. Why? Because that has been what is taught to you by your parents, and that is what you will be teaching your children also. The same. Okay. This kind of discrimination on the basis of gender can ever our societies become what is called egalitarian societies, gender neutral societies? Definitely not. Why? Because as the question says, it is always a permanent dimension. Can we get rid of our past? Very, very difficult. Third thing, patriarchal societies, what else can we give? Our belief in God and religion. A very interesting thing here. We have become scientifically very developed country, technologically very advanced country. And what do the ISRO scientists do before launching any satellite or anything like that? The first thing they will go to is they will go to Tirupati temple, pray there, and then they will look for a suitable time to launch the satellites also. That is what our past. Can we, all of them are highly educated, right? Space research, very advanced science. You are sending, our satellites to moon, and then you look at the movements of moon, lunar movements, as part of astrology to decide the right time for sending your satellite to the moon also. And you seek, recently before that also, when this Chandrayaan 2 was launched, what did the director of ISRO do? He went to Tirumala temple, offered prayers to God, requesting the God that please do not create any problems for us. That is what, that is what past cannot, we cannot leave our past. You can be, you can be reaching moon, you can be reaching, sun, you may be going to heaven also, but you cannot lose. It is very difficult for us. Why? Because it has been there with us for how many thousands of years. It has become part of our blood. It is flowing in our veins. And that is where the essay is all about. It is a permanent. Can we get rid of, just because, science taught us rationality and scientific temper, can we lose our faith in God and become completely secular? Take the case of America. America is the most advanced country in the world, most developed country. In America, there are more number of people in America who believe in black magic and, God and religion than the poorest country in the world also. Why? Because nobody can get rid of the past. It has been there with us for thousands of years. This is what we say. Next, what are the other examples can we give? Pardon? Yeah, another thing is that, as we said, it is basically what Karl Marx talks about, master-servant relationship. Our societies are always based on feudalism. Our societies are always based on feudalism. Howsoever educated you may be, howsoever knowledgeable you may be, howsoever civilized you may be, you always believe in feudalism. You always believe in feudalism. You always believe that you are the master and other people are your servants. It can be arrogance, intellectual arrogance. It can be due to intellectual arrogance. It can be due to your economic might. It can be due to your political power. But this will be part of our society. Will you ever treat other people as the same as you are? Will you ever treat everyone else as same as you are? You never. Why? Because the past is always influencing our value system. It influences our consciousness. Now this is another important thing that we can talk about. Anything else? Wherein the past always is a permanent dimension of our value system. From you're talking from political and administrative point of view. I'm talking about from society point of view in terms of traditions, customs, and everything else. Pardon? No. You have to talk from the point of view of society, traditions. Basically, that is what we have mentioned as part of feudalism. All these are different forms of only exploitation. Next one is our blind faiths and beliefs. They will not go away. Howsoever rational we might become, our blind faiths and beliefs, they will never go away. They will never go away. Can you name those blind faiths and beliefs which are completely irrational, but which we shall continue? Whenever we want to do something new or good, you always look for auspicious time. Give the example. When BJP came to power, they had taken almost 1 week, more than 10 days, for swearing in ceremony. Why? Because they were looking for auspicious time. We cannot get rid of these things. You might be most popular, charismatic, and a rational person. Can you, and a rational person, can you ever say no to these kind of things? Can we? Right? You take any Prime Minister or Chief Minister, whenever the swearing in ceremony takes place, you always look for, even yesterday also, when this Yedurappa, what did he do? He has removed one D from his name, numerology, and replaced D with I, so that his government can last for the remaining term. This kind of things will be there. You have to mention these things as part of your answer. Yeah, you look at every politician in the country, whenever they file the nominations, they always look for auspicious time. Nobody can dare. That is the reason why, in India, especially in the Hindu calendar, it is said that the full moon and the new moon is not considered auspicious to do anything what is called important. On the day when the elections were there, a schedule was there, on that day not even a single nomination was filed in the entire country. You can write these things as part of your answer. This is how you make your essays interesting. Why? Because the past will continue to haunt us. You can say that you are very developed, technologically advanced, scientifically developed, but you will continue to remain to have faith in this kind of blind beliefs and everything else. Which is, I said that, this area also, after elections, also after election results, it had taken almost 10 days for the Prime Minister to take the oath again. The same is the case with the state chief ministers. When the elections were held in the states, all of them were waiting for the auspicious time. Not realizing the fact that if you want to do anything good, every time is good, every second is good. If you want to do something bad, there is nothing called a good time. This is what rationality teaches us, right? If you are doing something bad, no time can be good. If you are doing something good, 24 hours can be good. But this is what rationality teaches us. But do we behave like this? Obviously not. Why? Because the past will continue to haunt us. Can we change this situation after 5,000 years also? No. Why? Because maybe after 1,000 years, we might be, maybe after 500 years, we might be settling on the moon also. But after settling on the moon also, we will be looking at a lunar calendar to see the movement of all the planets, astrology. That is what. Why? Because you cannot get rid of your past. It is very, very difficult. Is it possible? That is what we are seeing. What kind of paradox we are finding in our societies? The kind of paradox that we are finding in our societies is that on the one hand, we are moving towards what is called more technologically advanced, scientifically developed societies. On the other hand, the paradox is that on the other hand, societies are becoming much more conservative. They are becoming much more, traditional and conservative. This is the kind of paradox. That is the essence of this essay. On the one hand, as I said that we are talking about, if you look at America only, today only I was just reading, some newspaper, where it is said that, America is becoming more religious. I am not saying spiritual. It is becoming more religious than it was in the past. There should not be any rational reason for these kind of things to take place. But why it is taking place? As I said, we cannot get rid of our past. Is it possible for us to completely, leave our past and start on a clean slate? Is it possible? It is not. Why? Because we are part of the society, we are influenced by the society, we are influenced by our past. Otherwise, as I said, how could you explain the rationale behind the ISRO chairman going to Tirumala temple, seeking the blessings of God to send a rocket to moon, and he is praying to moon god also, not realizing the fact that moon is nothing but like any other planets in the solar system. That is what happens. Why? Because howsoever you may be educated, literate, advanced, you will continue to be haunted by past. The next question that we are asking here is that, is it good or bad? Is it good or bad? When the past continues to haunt us in determining our consciousness and values, is it good or bad? Yes, it can be both good and bad, because there is nothing absolute in this world. Everything is relative. It can be both good and bad. Why? Because it is good. It can be good because there are some traditions and customs which are continuing for 5,000 years. It means that there must be something good in them. So we can always follow those traditions and customs. We can allow them to influence our values and consciousness as long as they are good. As long as they are good. Because science cannot provide solutions to every problem. Technology cannot be the panacea for all the problems facing the country. And you require a value system. And this value system is coming from the past. And we require definitely, those values. And that is where we say that, what are those values, what are the past values which should influence us even now also. As we have discussed in the previous essay, past values like tolerance, openness, inclusiveness. These are the values which should continue to influence us, which should continue to influence our consciousness. At the end of the day, what does every religion talk about? Every religion only talks about, humanity. It says that every religion says only one thing: humanity is much, much higher than divinity. That is what, if we can understand this from our past, what does Hindu religion says? Hindu religion says that, through your deeds, through your actions, through our actions, human beings can become gods also. These are the things which we can learn from our past. That is the reason why we have the examples like Ram, Krishna, Shiva. Why did they become gods? Because they have sacrificed. What did Shiva do? What did Shiva do? He had he drank poison to rescue the entire world. What did Ram do? He sacrificed his a whole empire, went to the forest. As someone has written beautifully in some of the newspapers recently, everyone, we are becoming intolerant in the name of Ram. Had Ram been alive, he would have felt so sad, because all his life is about tolerance. He tolerated everything. He never had any kind of grudge against anyone. He never developed any kind of ill feeling towards anyone. His aunt Kaikeya, when she asked him to go to forest, he never had any kind of negative feelings towards her. Same is the case when Ravan kidnapped Sita. Ram had absolutely no personal rivalry with Ravan. He said that I am giving opportunity for you to reform yourself. Bring back Sita, I will pardon you. He is the epitome of what is called tolerance. This is the kind of past we have to learn. This is the kind of past that should influence our consciousness. These are the things which you have to write in your answers. Same is the case, take the case of Jesus Christ, Christianity. What is so great about Jesus Christ? He sacrificed his life. How many of us are willing to sacrifice our life for the sake of others? All through that ordeal, when he was severely injured by the Roman soldiers, he was smiling. He never felt the pain. Why? Because he knew that, because of him, most of other people in that particular place are escaping this severe punishment. He was willing to, in a voluntary manner, take the punishment of everyone else. That is what we can learn from our past. These are the things which you have to write in your answers. As I keep on saying, if you have very good knowledge of ethics, religion, culture, spirituality, you will write very good answers for these kind of topics. That is the reason why at the end of the day what we say, God means sacrifice. God means universal love. And that is what we have to learn from our past. Take the case of Gautam Buddha. He sacrificed his empire. He went to forest in a voluntary manner. He refused to have any kind of comforts. And he became enlightened soul. This is the past we have to learn. Come to the recent times, Mahatma Gandhi. Why do we call Gandhi Mahatma, divine soul? Because he sacrificed. He sacrificed everything. After independence, had he wanted, he could have become everything. He could have been the president, come prime minister, come chief justice, come army chief. He could have been everything. He could have been everything. Why? Because he could have become easily dictator of the country. Nobody would have objected to it. But he did not do it. That is the reason why he became Mahatma. This is the past we have to learn. This kind of past should influence our consciousness and values. That is what we have to write. So these are the essays, as I said, they are very, very interesting. And if you can write, I won't be surprised even if you score 180, 190 marks also, because nobody will touch these kind of essays. But again, to write these kind of essays, as I say, you need to have very good in-depth knowledge of societies, religion, cultures and traditions. At the end of the day, you must have very good practical knowledge about ethics. That is where you can really score here. And as I said again, this is where you can score easy marks without any hard work. Next, yeah.
In this kind of essay, we don't need to divide it into
Nothing. Not like this kind of essays, as I said, they should be based more on emotions and sentiments than on logic and rationality and all these kind of things. As I said that when we discussed this for the last say half an hour, 45 minutes or so, it had become very interesting. Even you could see that you were also able to listen to it very carefully. It had become more interesting. That is when you will be getting marks also. On the other hand, bland essays like the one which we have discussed earlier, accountability and democracy, you can write. Yes, and anyone can write it. As I say, this is spirituality, ethics, values, religion, all these things are highly, highly interesting. If you are able to mix all of them and put it in your essay, you can score very good marks. Yes, yeah. These kind of essays, there is no division. That's what he was also asking. You write whatever you don't know. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can write. I have given only the negative ones. You can write about the positive ones. The positive ones I have made as part of conclusion. That is the thing. Because if I include positive ones also as part of introduction, it becomes less interesting. You build up the essay, create suspense. The person who is reading it should be getting heart attack. You have to make your essay so interesting. He should not even have even a glass of water also before he completes reading your essay. That is how you should make it interesting. And you will definitely score marks. As I said, essays, you have to touch the heart of the person. You have to make him cry. The more the more tears, he has on his face, the more marks he will be getting. There is positive correlation between them. The more you make him cry, the more you will be laughing all the way to Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. The difference between GS and essay papers is this only. Make it more emotional. Try to touch the heart of the person. That is where you will be getting. And a good thing is that these kind of essays are the ones which can really help you to put all the emotions. Otherwise, the rest of the essays, cross-border management is a major problem. What will you write there? You will be writing whatever you have studied in general studies, and you will be getting average marks, 130, 140 marks, 130 marks, so that you can again write next year. You go to UPSC, attend the UPSC interview, have a cup of coffee in the canteen, come back and start preparing for films again. Why? Because what is the point of getting 120, 130 marks in essay? If you have to clear the examination, you have to score 160 marks. For that, you have to select these kind of essays also. Yes.
If we are writing time pages, how many pages we wrote to go, because sometimes when we start writing, so we get confused.
See, it can be 50-50%. 50-50. Every bad has to be accompanied with good. Next, the last one is again, part of your GS only. Jobless growth can derail growth process in the long run. This essay related to economy. For the last 2 years, UPSC is not asking any essays related to economy. So, he can expect one essay related to economy this year. And what can be better than jobless growth? Why? Because just before the elections, the census data had come, wherein we said that in India at this point of time there are more number of unemployed people. The unemployment rate is much higher at this point of time than at any point of time in our whole independent history. So obviously that is the reason why I have given this essay. Jobless growth is a very, very serious problem. So how do I start my essay again? Again I have to start my essay with a very dramatic introduction. What is the dramatic introduction here? Indian Railways announced vacancies for 90,000 positions. More than 2.5 crore people applied. 2.5 crore people applied for these positions. Next, in Uttar Pradesh, for class 4 positions, class 4 employees, that is peons and servants, 80% of them are either graduates or postgraduates, and around 10% are PhDs also. PhDs also. Graduates, postgraduates or PhDs. Next, what are the other interesting statistics that you can talk about? As I said that in India at present we have highest number of unemployed people according to the government statistics only. Highest number of unemployed people, both in absolute as well as relative terms. Both in absolute as well as relative terms. Both in absolute as well as relative terms. Just before coming here, I have seen a video on social media. They have posted that video. Some university announced what is called job mela. Job mela means the industrialists will come and they will select the people there. And how many people attended there? The line, they were asked to stand in a line. The line extended for 4 kilometers. These are the interesting statistics to talk about the jobless growth in India. People were standing in the line which extended for more than 4 kilometers. You can see that one. The kind of serious situation that the country is facing. Jobless growth. Okay. This is what. Then you can give other statistics also, what economic survey and budgets have said. What you say that employment elasticity of growth has come down during the years of liberalization. Employment elasticity of growth has come down during the years of liberalization and globalization. And unfortunately, the situation is worsening. It is not improving at all. The situation keeps on, turning very bad. It is going from bad to worse. What do you mean by employment elasticity of growth? Which you should be studying as part of economy. What is employment elasticity of growth? It means if there is 1% GDP increase in the GDP, 1% increase in GDP of the country, what percentage of population are getting employment due to 1% GDP in increase in GDP? What percentage of people are getting employment? That is what we say employment elasticity of growth. That is what we study in statistics or mathematics. Percentage increase in GDP by percentage increase in employment. That is what is called employment elasticity of growth. And what successive economic survey has pointed out that if you take the decade between 1992 to 2005, in fact 1992 to 1998, all these statistics are given in previous economic surveys. Between 1998 and 2005, then between 2005 and 2015, in all these time periods, what is constant is it is going down. It is going down. Right now, what is employment elasticity of growth? It is around 0.3%, not even 0.3%. If GDP is increasing by 1 percentage point, employment is increasing only by 0.3%. That is why we call it as jobless growth. Jobless growth. Not only this, we are having problem not only with jobless growth, another problem is growthless jobs. Not only jobless growth, growthless jobs. Why? As we have said, so many people have applied for government jobs. For 90,000 vacancies, 90,000 vacancies by, railways, more than 2.5 crore people applied, which is more than the population of at least 90% of the countries in the world. 2.5 crore. Why? Why? Because in private sector we have growthless job. Growthless job. What is this growthless job? What is growthless job? What? Growthless job means, today you are a tea seller. After 10 years also, you will be doing the same, selling tea and pakodas. Some time back, our ministers have said that even selling pakodas is also a job. Are they satisfied? They are not. Why? Because they will be doing the same thing after 10 years, 20 years and 30 years also. That is what is called growthless job. There is no career growth and development. There is no career growth and development. Growthless jobs. This is the problem with the private sector. This is the problem. Why? Because in the private sector they don't give promotions. If they have to give promotions, they have to give you more salary also. That is the reason why they will ask you to do all the work of your superiors without giving any promotions. Some of you have worked in the private sector. You should be knowing these things. They never give any promotions. On the other hand, if they have to give promotions, what do? They will remove you, and they will recruit a fresh person and give less amount of salary, and they will make that person to work everything else. That is the reason why what we are witnessing is what we call growthless jobs also. Growthless jobs. Now, as the question says here, jobless growth can derail growth process in the long run. It can derail growth process in the long run. Why would we say that? In what way jobless growth can derail the overall growth process in the long run? Why do we say that? Why do we say that? In essays also, if you want, you can draw diagrams. There is nothing like, there is no rule which stipulates that in essays you cannot draw diagrams. If you want, you can do that thing. For example, if people don't have any jobs, if they are unemployed, do they have any income? Do they have any income? They will not have any income. When they don't have any income, can there be any demand for goods and services? Can there be any demand for goods and services? When there is no demand for goods and services, will there be any investment? Will there be any investment by the industry? If you happen to read today's newspapers, auto sector, auto industry has given a big warning to the government that more than 10 lakh jobs will go out of the market if the government does not take timely measures. Why? Because you can see that auto industry nowadays is facing severe recession. Why? Because as I said, everything is interlinked. When there is no investment, will there be any growth? There won't be any growth. When there is no growth, there won't be any jobs. When there is no growth, there won't be any jobs. This is what we call a vicious cycle. This is what we call vicious cycle. What we call poisonous cycle in economics. Vicious cycle. So, if you have to ensure the sustainability of growth in the longer run, in the long run, you must ensure what is called job-led growth. Give the example here. Between 2003 and 2011, between 2003 and 2011, India was growing at 9% per annum. We were growing 9% per annum. Why we could not sustain the growth? Why we could not sustain this growth rate? Why it has come down to right now 5.8%? Why? In spite of the government constantly changing the base year, the growth rate is only 5.8%. If you go by the former chief economic advisor, the growth rate we can safely reduce it by 2 percentage points. Why? Why? Because this period witnessed what is called jobless growth. And this was the period when least number of jobs were created. This was the period when least number of jobs were created. This period witnessed what we call it as jobless growth. Please remember, whatever we are discussing is very, very important for your Indian economy, General Studies Paper 3. This year I am expecting, half the questions from agriculture, remaining half from employment. Because these are the two major problems the country is facing. And I said that I will be giving important topics also. Tomorrow you will be getting important topics from polity, and within next 4-5 days I will give you important topics from economy, around 30 topics, around 25 to 30 topics. And then after that next week I will give important topics for IR, international relations and social issues. Those are the things. And then by that after that I will be giving more topics also. I will be giving important topics for essay also, because one topic which is very, very important for your essay will be the water crisis that the country is facing. 100% it will come. I won't be surprised. The water crisis will be there in all your 4 papers of General Studies, including the other paper essay also. You have to be very, very careful. Prepare fully on that particular topic, water crisis. So coming back here, what is the reason why the economic growth rate had come down drastically? Because of the jobless growth. Since the country witnessed jobless growth, the demand has come down. That is what this year's economic survey also has said. Why we are witnessing deceleration in growth? Economic survey says that the deceleration is growth because of decline in rural demand. Why there is decline in rural demand? Because there is no employment in rural areas. And there is huge demand for what is called NREGA. We have huge demand for NREGA. When you say that NREGA is successful, that means economy is a failure. Economy is a failure. When do NREGA become successful? When do people look for employment through NREGA? Only when there are no job opportunities for them outside the government. That is where the problem. In the last few years, there has been a huge demand for NREGA jobs, which clearly indicate that, we are witnessing jobless growth. We are witnessing jobless growth. And that has impacted our economy in the long term also. Everyone says that, we have to revive our investment. Investment is necessary but not sufficient. What we should revive is our employment. We must see how can we provide more employment to the people. Why? Because, when will the industry invest? Industry will invest only when, as we have discussed, demand is there for their products. There will be demand only when people have income. People have income only when they have jobs. These are the small things our finance minister can never understand, because finance minister has a very good job. She got promotion also. She got promotion 3 times within a very short period of 3 years. Initially she was a commerce minister, then defense minister, now finance minister. She is looking for further promotion. What? What? Prime Minister. Don't say these things openly because Prime Minister is listening. Okay. So that is what, the problem is that, the government is not able to understand the severity of this jobless growth. And the government believes that the magic wand is investment. The moment we start investing, automatically the problem will be solved. Take the case of automobile industry. What they are saying is that we have huge amount of inventories. There is no demand. There is no demand. Inventories are piling up. We have no option but to retrench our employees. We cannot keep our employees without work for a long period of time. And this jobless growth further pushes the country into what is called recession. It pushes the country into recession. That is what we say, it impacts the growth in the long term. It pushes the country further into recession. And that is where we talk about the importance of job-led growth. We talk about the importance of job-led growth. And when the finance minister says that, the magic wand here is only investment, she is completely wrong. Investment is necessary but not at all sufficient. Why? Because, when you talk about aggregate demand, these are the terms which we use in economics. When you talk about aggregate demand, we talk about two things here: consumption demand and investment demand. India is mostly a consuming country than a producing country. India is a country where consumption demand always dominates than investment demand. That is what economic survey also says. That is what economic survey also says. So, this aggregate demand will in turn determine the GDP growth rate. This aggregate demand will in turn determine the GDP growth. And how can you push up this aggregate demand? Either by increasing your investment or by increasing your consumption. And what is happening now is that this consumption, private consumption, has almost stagnated. It has declined. That is what economic survey says. This decline in private consumption is forcing us into recession. Why private consumption has declined? Why? As I said, people don't have any income. Why they don't have income? They don't have any jobs. NREGA is only for sustenance. It is not for growth and development. What is the amount of money you will be getting through NREGA? It is necessary. It is sufficient for you to stay alive, not to become rich. So obviously, these programs like NREGA cannot revive the economy as such much. NREGA can help you to revive the economy when economy is already progressing well. During the time, between 2005 and 2011, NREGA was very good. Why? Because economy was already performing well. NREGA provided a supplementary income to the people in rural areas, which increased the overall demand also. But right now what we are witnessing is a situation wherein the aggregate demand is coming down. Investors, they are not investing. Consumers, they are not spending. They are not spending. Now our finance minister says that we should focus only on investment. But the most important thing that they should be focusing is on consumer demand. Why? Because investment demand, that is what we say, it is a secondary, it is derived demand, it is not direct demand. In economics we call it as derived. It is not direct. When there will be demand for investment by the industrialists, when do they invest fresh in the system? When do they invest? Only when there is demand for their products. Only when there is demand for their products. So what should the government do? The government must ensure that people have money in their hands. For that they must have employment also, productive employment. They must also have what we call productive employment. And this is necessary to revive our, demand in the long term, to revive our growth in the long term, GDP growth in the long term. On the other hand, what the government is doing is that government is conveniently ignoring this aspect of growth, that is job-led growth. The government is more than satisfied with the increase in GDP numbers. The government is more than satisfied with the magic numbers like $5 trillion. It does not really matter whether the country becomes a $5 trillion economy or not, as long as it is not able to provide employment. You cannot become a $5 trillion economy without providing employment to your people. The next question is, how can we provide employment? After looking at all these things, what can we do to provide employment to people? What should we do? The problem is that, they have the skills. What we are witnessing is growthless job also. As we have said, no, we have in India, we have different types of unemployment. The problem is that if it is only unemployment, then it is not a problem at all. The problem is much more complicated. We have different types of unemployment. One is direct unemployment. That means, you are entering the job market with the necessary skills, but you are not getting the jobs. Then you have disguised unemployment, like you have in agriculture, disguised unemployment. When 100 people are required, 1000 people will be working. The productivity of the remaining 900 will be zero in agriculture sector, disguised unemployment. Then we have also underemployment. Underemployment means, you are not getting a job which is in consonance with your skills, knowledge and experience. As I said, when a PhD, a person who has done PhD is applying for class 4 job, it is called underemployment. Not even underemployment, underemployment. Why? Because they are not able to utilize the skills of the people. They have no option but to do these kind of things. This is what we have in India, all kinds of problems. And then another, to complicate the problems for much further, we have huge amount of army of unskilled laborer. Huge army of unskilled laborer. And again, to complicate the issue further, there is huge amount of mismatch between the academic qualifications of there is huge amount of mismatch between the academic qualifications of huge amount of mismatch between the academic qualifications of those who are entering into the job market, and the skills that are needed by the employers to give them productive employment. The skills that are needed. What you are studying in your graduation or post graduation, in your MBA, MCA, is not sufficient for you to get productive employment, because they are demanding completely different skills, and what is being taught in academic institutions is completely different. Huge amount of mismatch. That is the reason why on the one hand we have huge amount of unemployment, on the other hand there is huge demand for skilled personnel also in the industrial sector. Why? Because as I said, there is no connect between academic institutions and industrial sector. Yes.
Sir, recently, 1 month back, IBM CEO said same thing, that engineers are producing, but they are not skilled.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we write
Obviously. Yes, since you cannot name the person in front of you, you can name IBO. Yes, you can say that. You can name it. Truth is always universal. Whoever speaks it. Of course, he has copied these things from us. That's not a problem at all. Let him do the things. So coming back, that is where the problem is. So these are the things which makes the whole issue much more complicated. So what is the solution? What do you think is the solution? We have seen the problems and the causes and everything else. What is the solution?
We have to revive the manufacturing sector.
It is very easy to say reviving manufacturing sector. How can you revive manufacturing sector? For that you require land. Where is land? After this Land Acquisition Act of 2013, no industrialist could acquire even a single hectare of land because of the stringent conditions. Because of the stringent conditions that are there as part of land acquisition. There is no land in our country. You cannot build industries over seas. Right? Then? Yes, you're talking about textile, rubber and all this kind of industry. It is very again easy to talk about those things. For that, you must incentivize producers. You must improve the skills. You must ensure easy financial facilities. And what is the government doing? Exactly opposite. Instead of incentivizing for producers, the government is imposing huge amount of tariffs on imports and other raw material, which makes our industry less competitive. And we don't have any skilled personnel also. And another problem is that when the rest of the world is following what is called protectionist policies, what is the point of producing more of these things in our country? Can you export them to other countries? Not at all. Why? Because America, for Donald Trump, it is America first and America last also. It is not LAST, LOST. That is what very difficult. You can write all these things in the examination, get marks, but in reality it is difficult. For example, take the case of leather industry, garment industry. Where do you get this leather? How do you get this leather? From the skins of animal skin, buffaloes and cows. Yes? Now, the moment you start killing a cow, before you think about that or killing a buffalo, you will be killed. Since you have raised this question, Uttar Pradesh, can you imagine that, in 2012, 2011, the most profitable industry in Uttar Pradesh in terms of exporting was this leather industry. They used to export this buffalo and cows, and they used to earn not 1 or 2, 20,000 crores of rupees. Now, it has come down to less than 2,000 crores of rupees. Why? Because you know what? So it is very difficult, you can say these things, all these things, but difficult to put them into practice. But what else can you write? You have to write the same thing only. In the examination, you have to write the same thing. Like, you have to improve the skills of the people, change the academic curriculum, ensure better linkages between industry and academic institutions, and then, identify, tourism sector. Tourism sector is one sector wherein it has huge amount of employment potential, which does not require any educational qualifications also, and promote entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs not only in the software, for us entrepreneurs means only software only. We think that is what a venture capitalist. Entrepreneurs means even the tea shop owner also is an entrepreneur. You have to promote this kind of small businesses. All these things you have to write as part of your answer. That is what ultimately the long-term solution is. You have to move towards what is called job-led growth. Job-led growth. How? Nobody knows, but you have to write all these things. Whatever the measures that we have talked about, you can write all the things. As he said, we have to promote leather industry, garments industry, all the other industries. If you don't get animal skin, use human being skin. Yes. Yes. Now, what can we do? What can we do with the population? What can we do? Can we ask Pakistan to go for a nuclear war with India so that we can reduce population overnight? Why we are not controlling? It is not a part of our topic now, right? If you ask these kind of philosophical questions, what can I say? We have to control. We are not controlling. What can we do? We tried to control population during emergency, Sanjay Gandhi, through very stringent measures. And that was the only year in the whole history of India when the population growth rate had come down also. 1976 was the only year where population growth rate had come down thanks to the measures taken by Sanjay Gandhi. Can you use those kind of measures now in a democratic country? Right to life includes right to produce also. Okay. That is what we say. Okay. We cannot, don't get into all those things. Only think about what you have to write for this essay. And you have to write all the solutions. Again, as I said, that these kind of essays, again you have to show a little bit of creativity by coming out with these kind of interesting facts. 90,000 vacancies and 2.5 crore people applying. Make sure that you are getting all these kind of facts. Preparing for essay means getting all the interesting facts. So that it makes your essay different from others. So this is more than enough, and I think next week it is polity governance paper, I think, right? Tomorrow I will give you the important questions, you can prepare them. Along with that I will also give other questions in the paper also. So we can meet next week at the same time.